my God, look at this. Can't believe it. It really is the new Chevrolet Corvette Stingray, and it's a little bit like rock and roll. Come on, keep up. Rock and roll was started in the 1950s. The first Chevrolet Corvette was released in the 1950s. They're both as American as apple pie. Anyway, so this Corvette is in its 8th generation, and for the first time ever, they've done something radical. They've moved the engine from the front to the middle. So it's like a proper supercar. It doesn't have a supercar price though. In the US of A, it costs $62,000, which works out to less than £50,000. So it's cheaper to buy than a Mercedes A45 S for a mid-engine supercar. God bless America. Unfortunately, we can't get them in the UK. They'll probably come in a year or two. Until then though, you can actually get them in the UK if you visit a dealership called Clive Sutton. They're the people that have lent us this car, and if you follow the link in the description, you can go check out their website. Thank you, Clive. Looking forward to reviewing this. Now, if you're looking for another car to buy, click on the pop-out banner up there to go to CarWow, where me and my team are there to help you choose the right car for you and get it for a fair price from one of our trusted dealers. Or if you're just wanting to do that at a later date, or you just want to recommend CarWow to someone else, just Google "Help Me CarWow." It's that simple.
Buying a new car? Then head to CarWow and my team will help you find your next car at a fair price. CarWow, your one-stop car buying comparison site.
Let's start off this video by talking about the design. And the one thing that I don't like about the look of this car, there's only one, it's this. The Stingray badge on the back. Just seems a bit tacky. The rest of it I love though, especially the fact that you can peer through that screen and see the big V8. I like the shape of this rear screen actually, and the fact you've got vents there to help cool the engine. Spoiler's good, back end's really smart. It looks a little bit like a transformer to me. The shape of the tail lights, which are LEDs by the way, it's got that kind of transformery look, hasn't it? Am I the only one that thinks that? Let me know in the comments below. Also, everything is real. These vents, they do vent things. They're vents, they're real. There's ventage down there, that's real. The quad exhaust, real. The Germans need to take note. Mercedes, Audi, and sometimes BMW. Oh my God, look at the shape of this car. These strong creases, the wide wheel arches. You've got 20s at the back, 19-inch alloys at the front. It looks mean, especially with this huge vent here on the side. Obviously feeding air into that mid-mounted engine. Yet again, no fakery. So this model is the coupe, but you can actually flip out the roof panels, and you've got two choices for the roof panels. This is the carbon fiber panel. You can also get a transparent one, which I go for, so you can see the sky. Moving to the front, the whole kind of angular, aggressive theme continues. Got LED headlights, there's cool creases in the bonnet, angles everywhere, and yet again more vents that are real. I'm just not used to this, you know. Thank you, America. Do you know what? While this car looks like a transformer from the back, from this angle, I'm now seeing a Ferrari 360 that's been drawn with a ruler. Can you see that? Anyway, let's check it out on the inside. I love the look of it. You can get 12 different paint colours, but I really like this red. Nope, remember Matt? It's a USA car, so it's left-hand drive. Got to get in on this side. I like the door handles, just a button underneath here. Let's get in, check it out. Now, as a British person, I feel compelled to criticise this American car's interior build quality, because after all, they can't put things together properly over there because they don't have a monarch. Yeah, we haven't forgiven them for that tea party in Boston. If I'm being honest, it's actually really good in here. Lots of metallic bits like the covers for the stereo speakers, shiny bits on here, nice metallic stuff here. The paddles, they're metallic as well. I do actually really like it, and I like the design as well. People say that in sports cars you feel cocooned. In this you really do. I mean, this big central tunnel, the way everything's wrapped around you, you do feel genuinely cocooned without it just being a motoring journalist cliche. I like the steering wheel as well, or shall I call it a steering square. The column is electrically operated as well. Premiumness. Now I should point out that this particular car is the range-topping LT3, so it adds stuff such as Alcantara headlining, leather on the dash, which is lovely, and these glorious electrically adjustable sport seats. It's obviously very expensive, isn't it? Though, actually no, in America, $77,000. So £60,000. And this feels more expensive inside than a £60,000 car. I like the fact that when you're sat in these seats, getting nice and low, you still get a good view out because the dash is low. I love these little vents, look, really thin vents. There's only one thing I don't like, and it's this. The buttons for the climate control down here, it's just a bit odd. Now, I'm all for a physical button for your climate control so you can press it dead easy when you're driving. However, the screen on this car is so close to you that you could easily have it in the touchscreen and just prod it like that, just as easily. In fact, easier than going like that and trying to find the right button. In fact, this infotainment system is very good, you know. It's bright, it's easy to use, it's got Apple CarPlay and Android Auto, so that's what you're going to use. You've got digital driver's display as well, which looks good, has plenty of menus, it's nice. It's hard to fault this car. Maybe I can find something wrong with its cubby spaces. So let's go through those. Well, there's a mobile phone charging slot here, and the range stopping car gets wireless charging. Underneath here, if you don't have wireless charging, is just one USB socket. Oh no, there's a USB-C as well. There's some cup holders under here where there's room for your drinks. My only query is are they big enough for those huge, big, bladder buster drinks that you get in America? I'm sure they've tested those out. What about the door bins? No, they can't even fit a bottle this size. It's a bit crap. Glove box. That's better though, look, plenty of room in that. All good. Well done, Corvette. What about load luggage capacity? Right, I bet we're going to fail here. Oh look, this is how you open the door. You press this button here. Now, I'm not going to do the usual motoring journalist joke of going to the I was going to say, I wasn't going to do the joke where I pretend to go to the back of the car where the boot is, because it's not there. But the cameraman, Lewis, made that error. And that was genuine. No, I've made an error. I forgot to open the boot before I come here. Give me a moment, sorry. All right. So, luggage capacity. Please don't expect much. Here it is, your front boot, also known as your fruit, or if you're in America, your frunk, your front trunk. It's not the largest thing, is it? You're not going to fit much in there. I suppose it does have some things that you can hang stuff off, and there's also a 12-volt socket, plus an emergency release in case somebody bundles you into the front boot and you need to get out. Though I don't know how you'd fit a human in there, unless you've chopped them up into lots of different pieces, and then they wouldn't be able to press that button anyway. Anyway, there's not much space. But there is, because actually there is a boot at the back. I double bluffed you, Lewis. I double bluffed you. God, I forgot to open it again.
I knew it, man. I knew it. Look at me.
Really? No, he's not. He's not. Right. I'm stupid though, because I tried to open. I tried to open it from the spoiler. I'm a professional car journalist, I am. I know lots about them and how to operate them all. So there's a lot more space now when you combine the two compartments, front and back. You've got 357 litres, which is more than you get in something like an R8 or a Porsche 911, and even more than in the boot in an AMG GT. Now, you know I told you that this car had a removable roof panel. I'm going to remove it. I'm going to go topless. I'm not going to take my top off. I'm going to do this. I unclip this bit, and then I unclip this bit. I'm not used to manual labour, me. And I'll press a button here, and then I'll do my best to lift it without dropping it. Come on, don't drop it. Do not drop it. It's carbon fibre, Matthew. Oh God, this is heavy. Oh, it's not. It was because I was holding it away from my body. I'm not that weak. Right. Come on. Then you gingerly put it in there because it's going to be expensive to replace. I've got to ship one all the way from America. Try and find the locating lugs. Yes. Yes, and there we go, it's secured in there. But now you really do have a lot less luggage space. And that brings me on to 5 annoying things about the new Corvette. If your battery dies and you can't open the doors because they have an electrically operated catch, don't worry, because there is a manual override. And when you're on the outside of the car, you can open the car using a key up in there. That's elegant. What's not so elegant though is the one for if you're inside the car, because the releases are these big pieces of plastic which just look a bit horrible in the footwell. In Europe, we need a front number plate, and so there's this plinth that fits onto the front of the car. It looks horrible, really, doesn't it? Now, in some places in America, they don't need a front number plate, and that is replaced by this panel here, which is more angular and jagged and will just look better. In fact, here's a cutaway of what it would look like without that there. It's nicer, isn't it? The stalks for the door mirrors aren't actually the same length. It's weird. Maybe if you're American, you can tell me in the comments below why that might be. The 12-volt socket inside the cabin is hidden away under here. Yeah, it's there. Why? Why is it there? The Corvette is an absolute bargain in America. Not so much here though. You see, after you've factored in shipping costs, import duties, tax, and all that kind of stuff, it pretty much doubles the price. This one here, with all the options on it, top of the range, £132,000. Now for that, you could get a really nice Porsche 911 Carrera 4S fully kitted out. In fact, if you want to see my review of such a car, click on the pop-out banner up there to go watch it now.
Don't worry, there's still plenty to like about this car. Here's the CarWow 5 core features.
This car gets loads of standard equipment. For instance, it's got a heads-up display and lots of cameras to help you see around the car for parking and stuff like that, which is great. And if you're worried about being able to see in that rear view mirror out that tiny back window, look, there's a camera feed as well, so you can always see behind you. The fruit tub and the boot tub, plus parts of the dash, are made out of a lightweight fiberglass material called Float. And it's named that because it's so light that it floats on water. It all helps keep the weight down on this car. In fact, it weighs just over 1.5 tons, which isn't too bad really. You can get a nose lift for this car, and it raises the car by 40 millimeters at the front in just 2.8 seconds. It's very quick. And you can operate it while you're driving at speeds of up to 24 miles an hour. You can actually link it to the satellite navigation system, and it will remember 1,000 different locations. So as you're driving along, it'll automatically lift the nose, or as you're pulling up to your driveway, if it's steep, it will know that you're there and lift the nose. Brilliant. This glass screen is actually cantilevered, so you get this gap here, and it allows hot air to vent from the engine bay. And check this out, right? Look, the boot has soft close. The car has a feature called Performance Data Recorder, which is really cool. When you're on track, you can use it to time your lap. But better than that, you also use the forward-facing camera to record your lap as you're going round. And you can change the graphics that you have on there, and then you can save it on an SD card and then upload it to your computer. When you're on the road, you can actually switch that over to a dash cam, so if you have an accident, you can use it in a court of law. Finally, we come to the reason why we're all here. It's this mid-mounted 6.2 litre naturally aspirated V8, which is rather nicely presented here and surrounded by some carbon fibre. So this drives the rear wheels, and it puts out 490 horsepower and 630 newton meters of torque. However, this particular car is fitted with the Z51 pack, which gives you better cooling and a free flowing exhaust, and that increases the power to 495 horsepower and 637 newton meters of torque. It also means that you get an even nicer sound from the exhaust. So let's hear it. Go on, start it up. Stop. I tell you what, European turbocharged cars do not sound like this naturally aspirated, good old American V8. It's insane. Now the C51 package also includes bigger Brembo brakes over the standard Brembo brakes. You also get a reduced final drive. Now that does mean that your top speed falls from 194 miles an hour to just 184 miles an hour. Oh, boo-hoo, dry your eyes. It does mean that acceleration is improved though. Chevrolet says this car should do 0 to 60 in 2.9 seconds, but I'm going to find out. I've got my specialist timing gear here. I'm going to launch it. Let's do it. Gently away, now it's going. Or 63.6 seconds. What's the quarter mile? 11.8 seconds. Thought it would go quicker. Kind of the opposite to the German cars, which seem to be subdued in noise and overperform. Let's try it again. Come on. That was a bit better. What are we going to get? Oh, can't see my seatbelt. I can't see. I can't see what it is. Okay, we got 0 to 60 in 3.64 seconds and the quarter mile in 11.77. Do you know what? I have got the traction control still on a bit. I'm going to try it with it off. Right, I'm going to give it one very last try. And this is your lot, Americans, all right? No excuses, that was a good launch. Got a good time, better than before. Okay, that's it now. The best I got, 0 to 60, 3.55 seconds, and the standing quarter mile in 11.65. I've no idea where the 2.9 comes from because those launches were all pretty decent. Do you know what I'm going to do now? I'm going to put the car into tour mode. So this is for just when you're cruising along. It's actually really nice. You see, this car has the optional adaptive dampers fitted to it, so it goes over bumps really well because in tour mode they slacken off, they relax. I'm cruising around with the roof down. It's quite nice. The only problem is you get quite a bit of buffeting here. With the roof up though, it's absolutely fine. The engine is barely ticking over. At 70 miles an hour, we're doing 1500 RPM. The economy's not great though, because all I've done is thrash it. 3 miles per gallon. 3 miles per gallon! Now, if you are just cruising along and you simply need to overtake someone, let's see what this gearbox is like. 8-speed, dual clutch automatic. That responded so well. And now it's just 90 like that. Picked up so well. Nice gearbox. It's responsive, it's quick. It doesn't really jerk much when you're changing gear. Now, if you're American, you're probably taking that the wrong way. I mean, it doesn't jolt much, not jerk much. Yes, this is not for children, this channel. And this car's not really for children because I don't know where you put them. I suppose you can just fit one here in the passenger seat, but that's your lot. Which brings you on to general everyday practicality, driving this car around town. Well, actually, it's not too bad. I can see the corners of the car okay, and for parking, those cameras are great. It's quite manoeuvrable as well. The turning circle's all right for a sports car such as this. Easily live with this thing every day. I like it. Now let's see what this car's like on a twisty road, because after all, American cars don't like corners, do they? Or is that just another British cliche? After all, this has got a mid-mounted engine, which does help the balance. Oh, and it grips. And the steering's really quick. It's actually quite agile, good at changing direction. And doesn't get flustered either. It won't suddenly spit you off. That makes it easy to drive relatively quickly. Or as quick as you dare. My only complaint with it though is that there's not so much feel through it. You can't tell exactly how much grip the front wheels have got. I'm starting to push wide there. Oh, that throttle response is so good. Once you're coming out of a corner, it just leaps forward. One thing I'm not so keen on though, the brakes. They've got enough power, it's just that the pedal has quite a lot of travel before it does anything. Seems a bit squidgy. There it is, it's squidgy. So it's a long old travel. They work really well at stopping you, but there's just quite a lot of squidge in them. It's a bit of a shame. Other than that though, I'm really impressed with the way this thing drives. It's quick, not quite as quick as the numbers suggest, and it sounds great. It's comfortable, it handles well. I think it's a real result, and for what you can get it for in America, an absolute bargain. So then, what's my final verdict on the new Corvette Stingray? Should you avoid it? Should you consider it? Should you shortlist it? Or should you just go right ahead and buy it? Well, I reckon if you live in America, just go right ahead and buy it. It's an absolute bargain. Here in the UK though, you should just consider it. You see, the starting price from Clive Sutton is £95,000, which is quite a lot of money, but you may be willing to pay that if you want a sports car that really no one else in the UK has. Now, if you want to see more videos, click there. Also, if you want to, click on that box there to download the CarWow newsletter. So what we'll do with that is we'll send you an email with all our latest stories which are on our website. So when we can't actually give you some information on new cars through video, we can do it through the written medium.